All right. Mic is still set to the default. Should be the should be the snowball. Then football tactics and glory is up. It's a little late. Just came back from camping trip. So I didn't get a chance to do this earlier. Also going to assume that the audio is good, but let's see. Winter break now, right? Football Tactics and Glory World doing another stream. Just got a major update pushed. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it a look, because why not? Yeah, but it's a winter break in the campaign. Still the Scottish campaign, because there haven't been any new footballing cultures yet. I think the new thing that we just got is an update to the way scouting works. So originally, basically the way it worked was all information for footballers would be hidden unless you invested in the scouting infrastructure to actually uncover them, right? So there used to be like a hiring agent thing right here, and you would select the hiring agents, and that would allow you to actually see information based on the giftedness of footballers. But now we have a new system, which is based on, it's more complicated. I'm not going to be able to explain it because teaching is not really my forte, but it's really based on the activity of the different footballers. So it's more realistic in that sense, I guess. So if I look at a team, for example, maybe I look at this team. Now I can see, basically I get a guess or an estimate of what their abilities are. And it's essentially going to be based on things like how often you've played the team, how popular the team is, or maybe not even the team, because it's on a player basis, but how often the players actually play matches, you know, how prolific those matches are, how successful those players are. So for example, if McAllister right here plays a lot, then he has a lot of success in games, the ratings that you see are going to be closer to what he actually has on game day, versus someone like maybe McAdams that hasn't been playing that often and his results haven't been great. So his ratings are going to be more askew, right? It's a pretty interesting idea. I also like the fact that we have the little question mark that lets you know that your scouts aren't sure. We also have it for the skills. The skills are guaranteed, so this guy definitely has Olympic kick, but his giftedness might be, his potential might be 8, the level might be 2. You know, we're not entirely sure. And the same is true for giftedness over here. He might be a 2-star, he might be better, he might be worse, but it gives you kind of like something in the ballpark. So it's going to be more complicated to follow. It still gives you an idea of what the players are good and bad at. Like obviously Hog here is going to be better at defense than accuracy, of course. And then his control is going to be somewhat in this range of 33. So you can still plan around it. And then the same is true for the transfer market and the watch list. So if I look at my watch list, it's the same situation. We also have this new scouting column here. So basically once you put a player in the watch list, your scouts, which are now, what are they? They're now behind the scenes. It's a behind the scenes mechanic now. I don't think you have the ability to directly impact it. It's more like they act on your behalf behind the scenes, right? So you can put guys in your watch list, and that means that you won't forget them. You know, you can kind of store them up for transfer day to actually try to buy them and see what their value is and whatnot. But your scouts also have a greater ability to actually start looking at their attributes and their skills. Like for example, this guy, Will Wimmer from Germany, scouting's just begun because this update's new. But as time goes on, match after match, you know, time passes, my scouts will gradually gain information on him. I think if the player is really strong, your scouts may not be good enough to do this. So for example, D'Amato's a really good player from Italy. You can see my scouts are weak, which means, you know, they won't actually give me that bonus towards figuring out his information. It's basically just whatever I see on the main table, on the main chart, I guess. So for example, I can go over here, I'll see it here as well. And then it's going to be things like the rating, the level, the skills. The nice thing is the skills will always be shown, But then the potential for the skills will also be an estimate because we don't know the giftedness of this player. We're not sure, which means we're not sure about what his potential is for the skills either. It's going to be interesting. I know there was talk on the beta channel about the last one being too restricting or not making a whole lot of sense in terms of realism. So this should probably be a better, I guess, a more realistic implementation. It is going to be more confusing. I can tell you, outright, as someone who really enjoys these mechanics, I'm going to enjoy it, but I can definitely see people getting overwhelmed by it. But I'll try it and see how it looks. Obviously, other guys in the group are going to try it as well. I think Hoplite's going to start doing his own recordings too, so we can get someone else recording stuff. I know he's always done like the picture breakdowns, but he said he's going to start recording at some point. Should be interesting to have someone else doing it. But yeah, winter break. Usually I just play through the campaign just to see what's going on. In terms of gameplay, nothing new really, minus the scouting. That's the main thing that changed. I'm still using Scotland, still kind of going through the same campaign. Let's see. I do have some plans for the team in terms of the contract. I want to see if I can get to the next league this year instead of waiting for the fourth and final year. So that's the plan. Also, obviously, we have the ability to watch matches, AI matches, which can be interesting depending on the match in question. Like we have the Club World Cup here, semifinals. I'm following that. The finals as well. I have that scheduled, and you'll see the dates there. And they actually play in chronological order, as you'd expect. And then as per usual, you can't actually see the team details here. You can only see the matchup details. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. Taking a look at something. Yeah, maybe we can go ahead and watch the games. You can cancel it. You can you're basically approaching it as a spectator. So I think in terms of watching the game, the rules still apply. So you can't see the ratings or anything. Now, I wonder about this, because I think on game day, you'll see the actual ratings when you're actually playing against the opponent. So it might, well, yeah, so this might still be okay, where you can't actually see their ratings. You can't do things like look at a team, watch a team that you're going to play, find out their ratings on the field, and then try to copy it down and basically cheat the system. So I think that's still something that will be handled accordingly. And this is what is this, an Italian club versus a club from Ghana, I think, if I remember correctly. I'll double check it again, but I think it's an African nation on the right hand side. This game does a pretty good job with the nationalities. Like if you have clubs from if you have African clubs, there will be more of the African ethnicity. North Africa versus South Africa is also taken into consideration. So if you think about like Egypt versus maybe I don't know, it's Cameroon South. It's more South than Egypt, but things like that. And then obviously European clubs, North American clubs, South American, Caribbean clubs. Does a pretty good job with a lot of the different nationalities. Honestly, it's a thing that I'm sure most people don't care about, but it's pretty complicated when you think about all the different varieties of nationalities they can have. And all, because it's a global game. And then it also takes into consideration that certain countries are going to have more of a mixed ethnicity. Like if you look at the US, there's all sorts of ethnic backgrounds in the US, so it's not always just like one predominant thing. There'll be a mix there. It's interesting. Yeah, the Italian club's probably going to win this match because Italy's a stronger footballing culture, stronger footballing nation. At the moment, Cameroon or this other team doesn't even have their own footballing culture. But even when it's implemented, I think the stronger footballing nation, they're going to have the better footballing cultures. Or at least the more straightforward footballing cultures. Better is going to be subjective depending on who you ask. And then I think there might be an option to modify that. So for example, if you're a really weak footballing nation like Australia, but you want the very best footballing culture in the game, you can switch it. Or maybe you think one footballing culture doesn't fit a certain country and you want to swap it around, you can do that as well. And then maybe you just want to randomize things, you know? A randomizer option would actually be really interesting as well. Like where you click a button and it just kind of moves all the cultures around. It might need some rules though, because you wouldn't want just completely random results, but that could be interesting too. It's more of an RPG or role-playing thing at that point though, but it could be interesting. Yeah, but a lot of options there. Footballing cultures definitely add a lot. Even the few cultures that we have now have changed the game in a significant way, I think. We have like a dozen right now, but even then we have like the entire gamut of types, different levels of them in terms of strengths and weaknesses. I feel pretty good. It's nice because the core game remains the same, but it adds a whole lot that really helps differentiate it from the previous game. So it's not like a few bells and whistles, it's like completely different ways to approach various aspects of the game. And the nice thing is, no matter how you play, that holds true. You could be someone who never plays a game, a match, an active match. All you do is simulate games, and it will still impact how you approach the game. Because it impacts things like the transfer market and training and all that different stuff. I think winter break is going to end. Half the normal suplex. That's weird. Oh, game crashed. Okay. It crashed during the, what do you call it? It crashed during the progression, the winter break progression. Okay, let's try that again. I wonder if it will save the fact that I watched that match. It did, it does, okay. I'm gonna try to progress again. It might fail again. Which is fine. If it fails, I'll leave this up for cause, and then I'll get back to him about it. Yeah, but whenever it gets fixed, I'll probably do a quick run through just to kind of show it off a little bit. If it's not fixed by tomorrow, it's gonna have to wait until the next weekend, because that's generally when I have time to play this. You know, work and everything else makes it a bit difficult to find time during the week. Are you shedding? You gotta take a bath. Well, I've had my dog over here. He hates bath time, but you know, she's kind of that time of the year where she sheds a lot. And I have to clean it up, so we're going to the bathroom after this. Yeah, but it looks like there's a bug between the winter break progression and the next step. Cause I know you'll see this, so I'll send you the log when I have a chance, and then your team can look at it and get the fix out there whenever you have time. I'm gonna cut it here.